This video is about an introduction to the paleo and ketogenic diets. So one of the biggest problems that many people have these days is that they're completely confused about what's the right way to eat. There are so many conflicting opinions and different options out there that sometimes it can be completely overwhelming and you pretty much feel like giving up. One of my clients that I'm working with right now, she's done so many different diets and she's always asking me, she's like, well, can I eat butter or not? Because I've been told both. Or are eggs okay or are they not? Should I restrict my carbs? Should I restrict my calories? I just don't know. And I'm like, yeah, that I understand why you completely want to give up here because there's so much conflicting information. But the good news is there is no one diet that is right for everyone. So you forget about all the conflicting information out there. The goal is to find what works for you and not worry about all these different strategies out there. Just remember, there is no one diet that is right for everyone. So if a diet guru is saying, well, you have to do this or you have to do that, that's just their opinion. And you have to find what works for your body. So when it comes to weight loss, there are kind of just a couple of basic strategies out there. There's carb restriction, calorie restriction, and then, there can be fasting or you can use different highly specialized diets. But essentially, most people are going to come down to the decision, should I do a keto or a paleo or should I just watch my calories? And carb restriction basically comes down to keto, paleo, and the many different versions of both of those diets, or something else such as the carnivore diet, which is where you only eat animal products, which is a very, very low carb diet, as you can imagine. But generally speaking, the keto and the paleo diets are the most popular, so that's why I wanted to talk about those. So the most important thing is that you listen to your body first. Like I said, don't pay attention to the diet gurus, pay attention to your body. And so if you're not sure where to start, this is where you should start. Basically, with what you find appealing. If you love vegetables, then maybe definitely the carnivore diet is not going to be for you. Maybe even the keto diet is not going to be for you. So start with what you find appealing. And I know this may be unusual to hear a nutritionist say that. Usually, in my line, people are, the practitioners just tell people what they're supposed to eat. I don't agree with that. I think you need to figure out what you like first, and then make it healthy. And it may already be healthy. And do, what's doable, what's sustainable for you. Think in terms of macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbs. If you are going to choose a new way of eating or try to, refocus the way that you're eating, you might want to think in terms of, well, do I need more protein or more fat or more carbohydrates? And I do have a quiz called The Best Diet for You, where you can take a series of questions and you can find out. I basically have 3 categories: protein, fat lover, carb lover, or variety lover. So if you take that quiz, you'll kind of get it. Now, that quiz is just going to give you an idea of your starting point. It's not going to tell you what you should eat. It's just a basic guideline of where to start. So we're going to talk about keto versus paleo. So the basics of the keto diet: this is a very high fat, very low carb, and moderate in protein. A lot of times people make the mistake of eating too much protein and then not being in ketosis, because the protein doesn't necessarily facilitate ketosis. It's also highly restrictive. And the thing about the keto diet is it's not inherently about food quality. It's really just about the macronutrients. So there are a lot of people out there doing keto and they're not paying attention to the quality of the fat that they're eating. They're not paying attention to, are they eating, organic meat or wild-caught fish? So inherently, the keto diet is just about macronutrients, and that's really important, and that differentiates it from the paleo diet. The keto diet, because it's low in carbs and because when your body starts producing ketones, you will actually, there's an anti-inflammatory effect in the body from that. Therefore, it is a great way of eating for people with metabolic issues like type 2 diabetes or blood sugar issues or inflammation. And this plate, you can see there's some salmon, there's a little bit of vegetables, and there's avocado. This would qualify as a ketogenic meal right here. You have your protein, you have a lot of fat from that avocado and you have very few carbohydrates, it would probably be made even better if we drizzled some olive oil, extra virgin olive oil on top to boost up the fat content, because you need that high fat content in order to get your body into ketosis. Okay, and so now we're going to talk about the basics of the paleo diet. The paleo diet is moderate. It could even be high in protein. And it doesn't necessarily restrict the number of carbs or fat, actually, but it is inherently low carb because you would avoid all grains, all legumes, so beans, peas, lentils, all potatoes, except for, I should say, white potatoes. Sweet potatoes are allowed, I'm not sure why. Dairy, refined sugars, and processed food. The paleo diet is concerned about food quality as opposed to the keto diet. It's inherently trying to recreate supposedly the way we would have eaten when it was a Paleolithic time, when pre-agriculture. So therefore, no grains, no legumes, no dairy. So this meal here, you can see there's some salmon, some vegetables, an egg, a hard-boiled egg, and this would be a nice typical paleo meal. Maybe someone who was doing paleo would add some sweet potato, or they'd have like some fruit afterwards or something like that. So it tends to be on the lower carb side, and it's also good for people with metabolic issues, especially if they don't eat a ton of fruit and sweet potatoes on the side. Because even if you have blood sugar issues and you're eating more like lean proteins and a lot of vegetables, your blood sugar will improve, most likely. And also anti-inflammatory, because no refined sugars or processed foods. So this paleo diet is definitely concerned with quality. So again, listen to your body. This is the most important thing you can do to ensure that you're eating in a way that is right for you. There is no one diet that's right for everybody. How do you know if the diet is right for you? You have to listen to your body. And this is, this slide and the next slide, I'm going to talk about how to follow any diet safely, whether it's vegan, I don't care what it is, these are the recommendations. You need to listen to your body. So energy, mood, mental clarity, hunger, cravings, and gastrointestinal function. The ideals are energy is good, sustained throughout the day. You wake up in the morning and you have calm, good energy throughout the day. Your mood should be patient, pleasant, calm. Mental clarity should be clear, focused, creative. Hunger, really you should be able to go 4 to 5 hours without being hungry. Cravings would be, physical cravings would not exist. You really wouldn't get physical cravings. You may have habitual cravings that you already, you've been eating chocolate every day for the past 3 years. That's a little bit different, and that's not necessarily going to be addressed with changing your diet, although you can certainly help if you are having physical cravings. And then gut function, it should be, no nausea or pain or gas or bloating, diarrhea or constipation, normal GI function, daily bowel movements. So if you start eating a diet and before your energy was fine and now all of a sudden you're tired in the middle of the afternoon, that's a message from your body. Or you were eating a certain way, you changed your diet, and now you no longer have brain fog, or you're not hungry as much, or you have less cravings. These are all signs from your body. You have to be paying attention to these 6 factors. And I do have a blog post about this that you can refer to get more information. But also, when you're trying to follow any diet, to do it safely, absolutely emphasize whole foods over processed foods every single time. If you are considering eating a particular way and the requirement in order to eat that diet, you have to eat processed foods, that is a red flag. You should not inherently have to eat processed foods in order to stay healthy on a particular diet. Make sure you do frequent check-ins around your relationship with food. If you've been doing a keto diet for a couple months and now you start to obsess about carbs, that's a problem. You're starting to get a kind of unhealthy relationship with food, and we don't want this to happen. The way that you eat should be a long-term sustainable practice, not something that causes you to have a dysfunctional relationship with food. And unfortunately, so many diets out there create this problem. And keep in mind that when you restrict entire food groups like legumes and whole grains or dairy or carbs, right? Any kind of carby foods like fruit or whatever it is, that can lead to nutritional deficiencies. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a place for that, but you have to be aware of that and supplement accordingly. So there are some cautions around the keto diet. Long term, it can be very hard to sustain. There are lots of really bad approaches out there. Like I said, a lot of people don't care about the quality, so they're eating, bunless bacon cheeseburgers. They're eating sugar-free whipped cream, canned whipped cream, fat bombs. I mean, there's all kinds of bars and things that are made keto now because keto's so popular. And a lot of these things are just, they're highly processed and they're not nutritious. I call the ketogenic diet the oil and vegetable diet. So really, you can look at this meal and you can say, yeah, that's keto. There's protein, there's avocado, but this is more of a paleo meal right here. Now, that's why I put it here, because really, if you were to make that keto, there would have to be a lot more fat in that meal. So just think lots and lots of vegetables, low carb vegetables with high quality oils. That's the ketogenic diet. And a little bit of fish or meat or eggs for your protein. Also, what can happen is if you follow this diet over the long run, it's low fiber. It's inherently low fiber, so you could start to develop constipation, which is definitely not good, right? Or diarrhea from too much oil, too much fat. So pay attention to your GI function, but you could also just take a fiber powder, which again is not ideal. I'd rather you get the fiber from whole foods, but if you're going to follow the keto diet because you have diabetes and you want to, fix the issue, then take a fiber powder that doesn't have additional carbs added to it, and that way you get the fiber. A few other things. You definitely want to avoid processed food, like I've mentioned, and eat high quality oils and fats. So extra virgin olive oil, seeds and nuts and olives and avocado and coconut are all great sources of good quality fats. You can use butter if you eat dairy, good, organic grass-fed butter. And you can eat good quality oils, but not like fried things and highly refined oils. Also, be careful, because as you're eating a ketogenic diet, your blood pressure may go down and your blood glucose will probably go down. Most likely, they'll both go down, which is usually good. But if you are on medications, you need to consult with a doctor before you start this way of eating, because I don't want you to pass out in a parking lot somewhere because your blood pressure went down too low or your glucose went down too low. So even if you're not on medications, you do have to be careful of this problem when you're doing a keto diet, which is like a good problem to have if you're paying attention and you're monitoring it and you already have high blood pressure, right? But if you already have low blood pressure, you could pass out. That's not good. So you have to be careful when you're doing these diets. So now we're going to talk about paleo. Paleo, because it's more whole foods based, it's more kind of a natural approach, like avoid processed foods, avoid sugars and sweets. In a way, it's a safer diet. It may also be hard to follow long term because of all the restrictions. If you don't follow it carefully, you may have fiber issues. Like sometimes people are just eating, okay, let me just eat chicken and lettuce. I'll just have a salad with romaine and cucumbers and tomatoes and big pieces of meat. Well, if you eat that way, you're probably not going to get enough fiber. And remember, legumes and whole grains are a great source of fiber. So if you cut those out, it may be harder to get in your full amount of fiber that you need for the day. So you got to eat a lot of fruit. You have to eat seeds and nuts, and the sweet potato is good for fiber, and lots of vegetables. If you do that, you won't have a problem, most likely. And just in general, avoid the dogma. Like and this goes for keto too, like if you are eating a certain way and you feel like, you know what, I feel like I want to eat some cheese, or I feel like I need to eat some peas, or I want to eat a little bit more carbs. Listen to your body. Stop listening to dogma. You can start with a paleo or keto diet, but then adjust it for your own individual needs. So the major takeaways from today: I've talked about are definitely listen to your body. No matter what, the diet that you are following needs to be your diet. Put your name in front of it. I eat Jill's diet. I don't eat the paleo diet or anybody else's diet. I eat Jill's diet, and I listen to my body. And we all should be eating whole foods as much as we possibly can. I know it's not usually possible to eat 100% whole foods, but as much as you can. And just be cautious. If you're worried about something, ask me, ask your doctor. Don't just go blindly into something and then have your concerns and like just brush them off because some diet guru said that it was the best thing in the world. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of stuff that's pushed around like it's given, and it has very little scientific evidence behind it. So be careful. So that it was my presentation about the paleo and keto diets, and I hope it was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions, and on my blog I have tons and tons of articles about all sorts of things relating to working with your nature for lasting weight loss.